I thought I was talking all that time and I was catching it. I'm so sorry. Okay, I was trying to make a video basically on um having to do with a term that I just heard about. It's called ADOS, ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. And I was really curious as to what it was because I've seen it, and the first time I saw it, it had to do with reparations and stuff. I assumed it had to do with black people. Excuse me. But when I found out, it actually doesn't have to do with black people at all. Like, I heard one person say that it had to do with American descendants of slaves. That's the real meaning of it. And I was thinking, well, then that would, because I was asking, like, does that apply to me then? Because like, my great grandmother's Creole. So, technically, Creoles are always the descendants of slaves way back because that's how they got to America. So, I mean, technically, I'd be Ados myself. I was like, why is it? I got me to thinking about like reparations and how it's so slanted, how the media and how people make it out to be that it has to apply to black people. When, if you think of it, there's like if you look at the slave trade back in the day, it had a lot to do with African people. This is the whole reason that black people ended up in America in the first place was because of Africans sending them to America and them contributing to slavery in America. Obviously, they shouldn't be seen as people who need reparations. And there are a lot of people who are, African descendants. Recent African descendants, rather than like, someone who's ADOS. And then there's a lot of people who are actually white, and they're the descendants of slaves in America. There are plenty of people like Ty Burrell or like Steve Tyler, or I'm not sure about what's her name? Jennifer Beals? I'm not really sure about her. Jessica Beals. Sorry, wrong lady. I got them confused. Well, she probably is too. But anyway, white people who are descendants of slaves, and people never really associate it with them, but they'll associate it with black people in general. And I just find that weird because it's like it doesn't really have to do with being black or not. It has more to do with who your ancestors were. If they were here in America as slaves, or if they were in Africa selling and sending slaves to America. And then I got to thinking, like, some people, I remember reading, like, people saying, like, who should be paying for it, and saying, like, white people should pay for it. But if white people are the descendants of slaves, why should they be paying some people who may very well be the people who sent their ancestors over here to slavery? Because they're Africans that are the descendants of Africans who did this, who are in America. So, like, how are you gonna try and make it a black and white thing or a black and white issue? Is it really, like, those kind of things are really stupid in the first place. But, to make it a black issue is just, like, insane to me. Because, like, if you know anything about history, you'd understand that reparations and having to do with who's descendants of slaves has nothing to do with who's black and who's white or any of that, because there are many white people that are descendants of slaves, and there are many black people who are descendants of black slave owners and black people who had to do with the victimization of black slaves in America. So I just don't understand why people try to make it seem like this is the way they want to basically split up, you know, American people when it's not even a sensible way to do it. That's basically all I had to say about that. As far as the term ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, I kind of feel like that term, it's too broad a term in my opinion. Like, for me, I don't identify as black. I never pretend to identify as black. I don't pretend to identify as mixed race, even. For me, I mean, most of the time people don't perceive me as black American or mixed American. So for me, I mean, I don't really see it as having to do with being black, more so who your ancestors are. And I think maybe there might be a better term to use for black American people. Obviously, African American was always a very rude term to use for black Americans because nobody uses European American for white people. And so it basically is trying to imply black American people are foreigners and to make them feel like this country isn't theirs. And that's so racist and supremacist and evil. I mean, I never agree with that. That's why I never really liked that term, because it's like a term to basically say that white is American and black and other races aren't. And that's just cruel and wrong. I don't like that term. Obviously, I don't like those beliefs or anything like that. I don't subscribe to anything that has to do with racism or anything to imply that one race is better than another or one race is more native than another. I mean, our Native American people are a small percentage of our population at this point. Most everyone else is not native in this country unless you have Native American ancestry. Some of us do, usually small percentages, but any other race is not native. So, I mean, trying to pretend one race is more native than the other is just another way of trying to be supremacist and trying to act like one race is better than another, and that's just not right. But I still don't think ADOS is really a good term. But I mean, like, if that's the term they want to go with, that's cool. But I myself actually kind of see myself as an ADOS. Because, I mean, technically I am through my great grandmother, and my great grandfather may be part ADOS as well. So, I mean, I still don't consider myself a black person. I consider myself a white person. But, yeah. Alright, I'm done with basically this conversation on ADOS and what my opinion is on it. I do want to say one last thing is that I do appreciate that people are coming up with a different term other than African American, and maybe I understand Black American is kind of, I don't know, some people don't like that term either. Um, but I do appreciate that they are coming up with a different term, and that's really nice. But I don't know about ADOS. That's just my take on it. As far as reparations, that's just crazy, though. I'm all done. Alright, till another time. Bye.